All right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam aka Marf. We are doing a really important video today. This is to let people know information that we got exclusively here. We do not see that anyone else has actually known about this, because this is something that was brought to our attention by someone who works at the fire department. We're going to go over their statement and what FEMA just added to their trucks. So we're going to talk about that here in just a second. But I do want to remind you, you can always get the bibliography and every single article, tweet, video, picture, document over on our website. If you want to keep updated with what our community is saying and what a bunch of preppers, active and retired military are up to, then make sure to hit the subscribe button now. Also, if you want to support us, you can also go over to affiliates, and especially all of our affiliates are survival or prepper related. This is one of our biggest recommendations. Go get yourself prepared for an EMP or a CME. This actually covers both. It's called an EMP shield, and it can actually protect your car, keep it running after multiple EMP strikes, or even a CME, a Carrington level event from the sun. Go to marfoogle.com/EMP for more details. You'll get $50 off and help our independent channel at the same time. We're going to go over this email. This is pretty crazy, but let's bring in my co-host/internet brother, Dex James. What is going on, and how are you doing today?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I'm doing just fine.
So, first of all, before we go to the email, I just want to set up. So, first of all, we actually have some stuff from Department of Homeland Security here. This is from DHS.gov. Preparing for the unlikely. Now, when you go over through, if you comb through their website, which I watch all the press releases, I watch all of the crazy executive orders that come through. I watch all of this stuff. Between Dex and I, we're able to kind of keep track of almost everything that our White House is doing, whether they announce it through MSM or not. But as far as the prep that they've been doing a lot of odd things. Over the last couple of years, we've actually covered several of the kind of weird things. New York City, of course, last year or the year before, it's about a little bit over a year, 2022, they did a PSA for the first time in over a decade, and I believe it was decades. I think it was like since, a very long time, since Cuban Missile Crisis, were they doing PSAs about nuclear events. And this was partly because the USA actually stopped a lot of that. In fact, we got rid of even sirens, the appearance of having air raid sirens, because we didn't want other countries to think that, we were going to use a nuke. And this is the logic they had, that if we practice for one, if we put words out about it, that it would actually spook other countries and make them think that we're preparing to do something. It was also like a kind of a mental thing, like, we don't think about that here. That's, the last thing on our agenda. But as far as PSAs, they haven't had one in decades in New York. And all of a sudden in 2022, they started up a campaign telling people basically to get inside, turn on your radio, and wait for info. That was all they told it. All the preppers laughed at this. Every prepper peer of mine looked at this and goes, so wait, you're just basically telling them to sit tight and assess. Basically to go home, sit on your couch, wait for us to tell you what to do. There was no helpful information other than just kind of go home and wait for word. Even if we lose power, do all of that, I guess people are going to be sitting in the dark waiting to be told what to do. But that happened. They have done a lot of strange exercises in the subways regarding bio events. They actually released something in the subway. And by they, I mean the agencies that were trying to practice for this released a harmless substance that they were able to track. And what they did is they essentially released it into the subway, and they went to different entrances, and they were able to register how far it went, how it traveled through the subway system, and so on. They also did a fake asteroid evacuation. Now, again, for people like myself who do believe that they may know of some sort of asteroid, which is totally crazy, I also thought maybe this was actually not an asteroid drill at all. Maybe this was just straight up a simulation that they called a fake asteroid evacuation to make it so people don't even catch a whiff of panic. As far as this, it was a horrible failure. What the scenario was in this NASA simulation, which actually worked with other agencies to plan this out, was an evacuation of New York if an asteroid was known to hit there. And they had a certain amount of time to get out of the city. Now, they actually compared it in that simulation, said that an asteroid would be 1,000 times the power of a nuclear bomb. But they never mentioned that this was like, a nuclear evacuation. But again, they practiced and they said, how could we get 9 million people out of New York, and how could we do it in this simulation? They war gamed it several ways, and they could not get them out in time. They had a deadline of how fast they could get people out. There was no chance. And that's on some of the scenarios actually had good, good situations like open traffic, and the freeways were clear. There were no accidents, these kind of things. They still could not get them out in the allotted amount of time. Now, Dex, let's fast forward to today. There's obviously a lot of talk about dirty boom booms. There's a lot of talk about people coming into our country that might not have the best of intent. There's been a lot of talk about nuclear this, nuclear that. Why don't you go over what a local from Georgia, ended up sending us?
Exactly. So here's the detail. They say I work for one of the largest fire and EMS departments in Georgia, and have for many years. They actually gave us a lot more of their background. We didn't want to put all that in here. And they said, I just wanted to pass along some information I think was rather interesting with the events that are happening around the world and this country. But approximately 2 months ago, every fire engine, and there was a lot in their system, was given radiological hazard meters to detect radiation. And these were provided to them by Fema. We were not told anything else besides how to turn it on, turn it off, and charge it. And if it started beeping, that there was radiation, and to leave the area. They said that even the existing hazmat team that they have in the fire service, this large fire service, was baffled as to why they were given these to all of the units, to all of the trucks across all of their units. Of course, he says it might not be anything, but it might be something that's kind of odd that the federal government was doing this, and if he's going to keep us they're going to keep us posted if they see or get anything else to pass along. But what is the reason for this rush? And I guess the question is this happening in other places? And why is FEMA rolling in and deploying these devices across every fire engine, across all of these organizations?
Now, we've talked about the recent threats that they say are present. As far as all of the sheriffs around the country just went to D.C., 3,300 sheriffs were basically told, hey, if they're actually warning of possible events, not just in one place, not just in 5 places, not just in 10, but all across the country. Nationwide events happening all at the same time. This is what they prepared them for. They also said that there may be cyber events that actually not only go after the November day, but also go after local dates and local pick the person who runs your city day, if you get my drift. They also told them that essentially, that they need to be prepared. Rick Jones, the sheriff that actually brought this out, did so against their wish, and he ended up doing a press conference and saying, hey, this is absurd. He also told us that the president was not communicating with any of the higher structure of all of the sheriffs. The sheriffs run the nationwide around the country. These sheriffs were, put into place and put in charge by their communities to kind of take care of them. They are not communicating between the federal level and with these sheriffs. He also pointed out that they are not communicating with the police chiefs. This is something you can verify yourself. We can attach it on our website. You can go watch the press conference yourself. So with this being said, this was all brought into the context as well as what is going on the southern border. Now MSM and Legacy is actually catching up. There is coverage of this that can be verified by reputable sources that say that they are seeing these unusual amounts of numbers from the adversarial countries coming in through the south. Now, what would be the threat? If they come in with a backpack, that backpack does not contain anything, well, guess what? They could make things here. And if that's coordinated with something going on outside of our country, which, heck, if you look, we have China and Taiwan, North and South Korea, Venezuela and Guyana. We recently had Serbia armed. We've got, of course, Russia and UKR. We've got Belarus. We've got all of NATO sparking this, rumor that there's going to be a war, that it's going to happen. at the same time as they're looking domestically at some sort of event, EMP, or something else happening here. With this, it's like, with the, this sounds like they're almost putting it there in case of a dirty boom boom. And by boom boom, you guys know what I mean. That's a word you wouldn't say on a plane, right? Same rule applies here. Dex, go ahead.
And on tonight's main show over on Marfoogle TV, we're going to talk specifically about a criminal organization that was just arrested for peddling weapons grade plutonium. That's crazy. Okay.
And
so don't think it's not available.
You'll never expect where it's coming from and who is actually doing the business in it. You'll see that on our show in just a few minutes. Main point, people should have some sort of basic plan. Even if this was put out there just to scare us in the back of our heads, then that same person that thinks that will also think, man, maybe something will happen to move the needle further along, or to push this into something else. So remember, either way, whether it is something organic or whether it is something orchestrated, this is something that people should know about and not should be surprised by. So I hope people share this out. And again, we're calling out to all the firefighters. This is something that there's no such thing as like having a top secret thing in all of their fire trucks. So we feel free. We feel absolutely confident that we can ask every firefighter across the country, did this just happen with your fire department as well? You can let us know. Did you just get either Geiger counters or something else that detects radiological stuff? And what was the reasoning given you? Was there a reasonable reason given to you why they're doing it? Obviously, it's a good thing to have. It makes, I'm sure, a lot of people feel safer. So why aren't they telling everybody about this? Why aren't they bragging about how they just inserted these into all of these trucks? That's what I'm saying. Any chance they get to make themselves go, hey, our budget's going towards really great stuff and to make you safer. Anything to make you safer is something they usually brag about. So why aren't they? Is it because related to all of the other things going on? Maybe they don't want to. So this is all attached at the website. Again, thank you for sharing this out to everybody you possibly know that you could. Dex, thank you so much.
Much love. Great job, brother.
Have a good night. We'll see you in a few minutes. Stay in chat if you want to join us for our next show, or go to marfooglenews.com.